He didn't talk much. Wore the same thing every time. Faded flannel shirt, worn jeans, and an old ball cap stripped of any logo or identity. His stance on the line was straight out of a manual from a different era. His grouping? Perfect. Too perfect. Most of the younger shooters figured he was just another retired truck driver, burning through 45s to pass the time. Until one day, a SEAL recruit saw something the others missed. It happened in a split second. While the old man was reloading, the sleeve slid up just enough to reveal a tattoo. Not flashy, not big. Just 2 numbers and a symbol. Quiet, precise, earned. The kind you don't get because you want it. You get it because you lived it. Survived it. The recruit froze. Not out of fear, but recognition. And when he asked the old man where he served, the whole range fell silent. The answer wasn't a place. It was a number. A year. And in that moment, the jokes stopped. The grins faded. No one looked at him the same again. Welcome to the Human Stories. Before we dive deeper into this quiet legend of precision and purpose, tell me, where are you watching from today? And if you think stories like this deserve to be remembered, hit subscribe. Let's make sure they are. The range opened at 7 a.m., but he always arrived at 6:45. Never late, never loud. Signed in with one name, Martin. No rank, no greetings, just a slow nod at the front desk. Then came the walk. Same path every time to lane 7, the one farthest from the building. Far from the Bluetooth music and loud talkers. His clothes never changed. Tan flannel rolled to the elbows, jeans, a brown cap that had seen better days. No patches, no brands. Just enough curve on the brim to shadow his eyes. His boots were worn down but spotless. He carried only what he needed. One pistol case, a box of 45s, and a dented old thermos that never left the bench. The regulars called him Pops or that old guy. Most assumed he was some retired trucker with a pension and a hobby. They'd laugh about how he only brought one paper target and never fired more than 30 rounds. But the staff? They saw something else. The way he moved, measured. The way he scanned, aware. The way his focus wasn't on the target but on the windless stillness around it, like he was measuring a threat that wasn't there. Yet. He didn't flinch, didn't waste a shot, never bothered collecting brass. Most folks didn't notice. But the ones who knew, they noticed. That morning, the range was crowded. A group of off-duty Navy recruits came in together, all confidence and jokes. One of them, lean with a crew cut and a Trident patch on his gym bag, set up 2 lanes away. Jared, SEAL trainee, smart enough to know when something didn't fit. At first, he didn't give the old guy a second glance. Just another civilian punching holes in paper. Then he heard it. The rhythm. 3 shots. Pause. 2 shots. Pause. All precise. Tight groupings. No hesitation. Jared turned to look. The grip, the stance, the breathing, the control. This wasn't someone reacting to recoil. He was dictating it. Then Jared caught a glimpse of the tattoo. Barely visible. Faded with time. Just 2 digits. And an insignia. That's all it took. And in that quiet second, Jared knew. This man wasn't just someone. He was something. A ghost from a page history forgot. But muscle memory never did. He stiffened, just slightly, blinked, then looked again. That tattoo wasn't for show. It wasn't from some weekend parlor on base. It was from a time when ink wasn't art. It was earned. Jared watched the old man's grouping shrink with every volley, measured, perfect. Curiosity won out over caution. He stepped closer. "Excuse me, sir, that ink on your arm? That's first recon, isn't it? No turn, no smile, just one last shot, dead center." The pistol lowered gently, set down with care. Then Martin turned, locked eyes with Jared. He spoke one word. Once. That was it. Not a dismissal. Not a brush off. Something deeper. Like a door cracked open just wide enough to say, "Don't. Push it." Jared nodded and stepped back. Said nothing more. But his rhythm changed. His stance wasn't the same. His mind was somewhere else. He kept glancing left, watching. Martin wasn't fast, wasn't flashy. Just efficient. Each movement held memory, like muscle had learned it from moments too heavy to forget. Maggin. Slide check. Breathe. Fire. Pause. As if he saw each shot before it happened. His friends didn't notice. They were laughing, making bets, swapping insults. One of them, Petty, leaned in. "Hey, that old guy still got it, huh?" Jared didn't respond, because he'd seen shooting like that before, but only from men who never had to raise their voice to command a room. 15 minutes later, Martin was done. 30 rounds. Not a single miss outside the inner ring. He laid the pistol down, pulled a rag from his bag and started cleaning it. No rush, no ceremony. Jared stepped over again. Sir, if you don't mind me asking, when did you serve? Martin didn't look up at first. Finished his pass over the slide, locked it open. Then finally answered, calm as still water. 66 to 74. Recon, Southeast Asia. Jared swallowed. Exactly what he'd suspected. That ink wasn't for show. It was Marine First Recon. The kind of work that didn't come with parades or press. The kind you did in places no one talked about, where files were buried and names didn't come home. Laos, Jared asked, a half nod. Among other places. Suddenly, the rest of the range quieted. Not physically, but emotionally. Lane 7 had turned into something else. A corridor, a moment. And some of the younger shooters noticed too, watching silently. Did you ever train with SEALs? Martin allowed the ghost of a smile. Back then, we all did a little of everything. You swam, you survived, or you didn't. Jared grinned. Couldn't help it. My CO told us about an op, 71, deep jungle recovery. Leader was wounded, still carried 2 men out. They said it was sealed for years. Martin didn't blink. A lot stayed sealed. And just like that, the door closed again. Not with anger, just with finality. Like a man who had learned which stories were meant to be told and which were meant to be carried. He stood, stretched, zipped his bag. Jared stepped aside instinctively. His teammates were watching now, sensing something they hadn't seen earlier. Martin walked away calm and steady. Jared, without even thinking, snapped. To attention, sir, he called. Martin paused, turned back. Thank you. Truly. Martin studied him. Then stepped forward and placed something in Jared's hand. Heavy. Cold. A coin. On one side, the first recon insignia. On the other, 2 words, still here. He leaned in. You'll know when it's time to go quiet. Until then, earn it. Then he turned and walked into the rising sun. No salute, no goodbye. Just vanished like the morning had ended for him. By the time the others looked, he was gone. Jared stood frozen, coin in hand. Mind racing. He'd seen posers before. Guys in fake uniforms, stolen valor, cheap patches. This wasn't that. This was something real. Something dangerous and sacred. Yo, Jared, someone called from a few lanes over. You good? He didn't answer. Just walked over in silence and opened his palm. The coin spoke for him. His friends leaned in, expecting a laugh. A gag. But when they saw it, the insignia, the weight, they fell silent. Recon, one whispered. Old school. Vietnam era. No, Wei Petty muttered. That's real? Jared nodded. It is, someone finally asked. Who gave it to you? Jared looked toward the now empty lane. The man you all ignored. The one you laughed at. That was Staff Sergeant Thomas Martin. No one said a word. They didn't have to. Later, Jared walked to the front desk, coin still in his hand. You know this man? He asked. The clerk glanced up. Old guy from lane 7? Martin. First name? The guy tapped a few keys. T. Martin. Signed up almost 10 years ago. Pays in cash. No email. Do not publish on file for awards or events. Rare. Any idea why? The clerk shrugged. Only thing he ever said to me, once when I thanked him for his service. Looked me dead in the eye and said, I didn't do it for you to thank me. I never brought it up again. Jared didn't laugh. Just nodded. Left quietly. That night he couldn't let it go. By midnight he was deep in declassified archives. Most of it was redacted. Purposely misdated. But then tucked in a buried MacVSOG log from 71 it appeared. One line de, says Sergeant Thomas Martin. First Recon, Laos. March 6th, extraction under fire. Recovered 7, wounded, refused medevac. Award declined, file buried. Note, asset considered irreplaceable. Now silent. That last word hit like a gut punch. Silent. That was the mission. You did the job. You didn't tweet. You didn't write books. You carried it. Quietly. Forever. And Martin carried it all the way to a dusty bench on lane 7, Through every box of 45 ACP, through every morning sun. Now Jared knew, and so did the rest. 1 week later, Martin returned. Same truck, same steps, same cap. But this time something had changed. Not him. The air around him, Lane 7, wasn't just a spot anymore. It was ground that whispered. A legend stood here. Jared was already there early. Not just him. 3 guys from his team had arrived before sunrise, waiting near the back bench. They said nothing as Martin walked by. No interruptions. Just nodded quietly, standing a little straighter. Watching him like you watch instructors, not just some old man in denim. Martin didn't look their way. He pinned his target, adjusted his stance. But he noticed the silence. Not the absence of gunfire. There was still plenty. But the shift in tone. Less chatter, less swagger. More respect in how lanes cleared, more patience loading mags. Halfway through his second string of fire, Jared stepped over, this time composed, controlled. He waited for Martin to finish his group, then quietly held out something, a fresh box of 45 caliber ammo. Sealed. Martin looked at it, then at Jared. No smile, just a question in his eyes. Jared said, "Figured 30 wasn't enough today. The first time Martin gave a nod that lasted longer than a heartbeat. Accepted the box, reloaded calmly, kept firing. No words, just the soft, steady rhythm of a man who knows exactly what he's doing. Later, when the brass settled and the gunpowder smell thinned, Martin sat on the bench's edge, sipping from his thermos. One by one, the younger men approached. Not as a crowd, not in line, but quietly, individually. A nod, a handshake, a simple, "Sir," nothing forced, nothing rehearsed. Petty, the kid who joked a week ago, lingered longer, cleared his throat. "We looked you up," he said. "Some of us. You saved a lot of people." Martin wiped the thermos rim with his sleeve. "They saved each other," he said quietly. Petty opened his mouth, then thought better of it. Just nodded and walked away. Last to remain was Jared. He sat beside Martin. They stared downrange at nothing in particular. Silence stretched. Finally, Jared asked, "Ever think about teaching?" Martin exhaled softly. "Spent 30 years trying to forget everything I teach. But some of us," he paused, "need to remember it." Another sip. The sky deepened blue, sunlight catching dust in the air. "You don't teach this," Martin said finally. "You absorb it, quietly, over time." Jared nodded. "That's why I'm still listening." Martin looked at him longer this time, then stood. "Then don't talk so much." They chuckled quietly. Before leaving, Martin left the fresh ammo box untouched on the bench, a small gesture that said everything. That afternoon, the range staff made a small change. A brass plate no bigger than a business card was screwed. Above lane 7, it didn't say hero, it didn't say legend, it didn't even say recon. It simply read lane reserved until he says otherwise. Martin never asked who put it there, and he never told them to take it down. Some men teach with words, others teach by presence. Martin never told war stories, never raised his voice, never asked for thanks. He showed up, took 30 shots, left more impact than most men who speak for hours. He never needed to prove anything. Not to the range, not to the young shooters beside him, not even to the generation that forgot to ask. But when one of them looked close enough to see beneath the sleeve, the silence broke. Because that's the thing about real warriors. They don't advertise. They wait until someone is wise enough to notice how they move, how they stand, how they don't need to be seen to matter. Martin didn't need a biography or applause. All he needed was one recruit who asked the right question. And from then on, every round he fired taught more than any lecture ever could. So I ask you, have you ever met someone like Martin? A veteran who never bragged, never boasted, just stood quietly, carried history in his hands. Let time forget until someone remembered. Say their name in the comments. Share their story. Let others know who they were before the silence. Because at the heart of human stories, the most powerful tales don't shout. They wait. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, subscribe, share, and help us keep these voices alive. We'll see you in the next one. And until then, if you ever see an old man at the range, reloading slow, standing alone, watch his stance. You might be standing next to